Hey, welcome to Real Talk, episode 87. I'm Todd, this is AJ, and we're back.
Hey!
I'm with you today.
Hey, everybody.
I think you started with good morning last time.
Good morning. Good evening.
Good
night.
Yeah, that's how I started the last time.
Yep.
So,
It's like the 10th try.
yeah. So here's the thing. Something different about we have a little secret going on right now. We have a little secret with our filming right now. Am I right?
Yeah, that's a secret.
So our normal filming pattern is being mixed up a little bit.
It's true.
So I don't know. Should we
kinds of
could
giggly.
make them guess? They'd never guess it
They probably wouldn't.
because there's no way to know.
At least I don't think there is. Seems like normal.
This is why no one watches. No, so, yeah, back to it. Little secret. We'll tell you at the end, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll tell you right now. Yeah, we'll tell you later. Anyway, the other thing that's coming up, we talked about right before, that Clint told us, do not promise this. And I immediately said I'm going to.
It's true. You did say that.
Next week,
Next week.
episode 88.
88.
Lord willing, we get to go there. The new set will be in your view. And that is something that I put my stamp on because someone else has said it's true.
Somebody said it was true. His name starts with a T. It's not him.
But it rhymes with him.
Nice. That was clever.
Thank you.
It took me a second, but I got it.
We ratted him out. Anyway, if you're new to Real Talk, you've already clicked off of this.
Probably.
Real Talk, what is it? It's an opportunity to talk about, despite what it seems like, life, God, the Bible, and everything in between. We're just two guys that love Jesus, and guess what? We love you too. You're like, how do you know? We do. And we just want you to know a little more about God, life, the Bible, and everything in between. We don't promise to have all the answers. We're not experts. But we do promise to take your thoughts, questions, ideas seriously. And hopefully, if nothing else, point you right back to where the truth really is, the Bible. So, you probably say, Todd, well, how do we interact with you? Easy, AJ will tell you.
Hey, you want to shoot us a question? Hey, guess what? It's anonymous. Or you want to suggest a topic? It's at www.theremnant.life/real-talk.
REAL, if you're listening on the podcast.
REAL. That's right.
Link is in description as well on all of our
Link in bio.
That's I think where you can tell I come from the South a little bit is when I say our. I always say our.
R.
How do you
I've
say
talked
it?
about this before. How there's certain, I call it
Dialects?
Who slang or something because they're Hoosiers.
Oh, Hoosiers, yeah.
Yeah, speaking.
Do you say our
speaking
or
Hoosier?
our? Like,
Our.
this is whose studio?
This is our studio.
See?
Well,
you are
if
a
I'm
Yankee.
trying hard though, I might say our. I might enunciate
You just
it,
said our.
but it sounded like I think I naturally kind of do go more towards like our, like our. Like R.
That's what it sounds like. So I do that. I'm told that I slip in and out of that.
I never say
accent
isn't
still.
it either.
Isn't it?
Isn't it? I say in it all the time.
See, I don't ever say isn't it.
It's $100, isn't it?
That's $100, isn't it?
No, I don't say isn't it.
No, I think I say isn't it too.
It's weird.
So if you're not from Indiana and you're listening, there's a little dialect for you. But I've been
some
told,
slang.
you might know this because you're around me. Do I slip in and out of Southern? Can you tell I'm from where I'm from? Like if you didn't know me, you'd be
Oh,
like,
absolutely. Certain words.
Really? Can you think of any? Because you're really good at recalling facts quick.
Oh man, I'm so good at it. You do it on stage sometimes.
I know.
But you usually correct yourself.
I know. Or I make fun of it.
That's my Southern coming out.
Yeah. My
I
family
can't think of
watches
anything in
this, so.
particular, but hey, I love you guys.
By the way, you even said it particular. Well done. Anyway, I think we should dive in English. You're right. I think we should dive into questions or life first. We have two today.
Okay. I'm cool with life.
All right. Took a long time, but
I had to ponder.
why don't you go ahead and tell us all how you're doing, man? How's the journey of life going, and where's the good Lord leading you?
Well, thanks for asking.
I always ask how you're doing.
You do. I don't
How are
ask
you?
you though.
How are you? It's gonna drive me crazy now.
I'm very excited, for one, because after this episode, I will not have this hair anymore.
Oh yeah, this is a celebration and a goodbye
It is, man.
to your hair.
It's a new chapter.
You already know what you're gonna do.
Probably just get a fade.
Yeah.
Whoever's brave enough to cut it. It's a lot of hair to try to turn into a fade.
Hey, it's possible.
I can literally feel like my hair is folding on the back. Is it doing that when I'm... That's fine.
So for those that are tuning in, this came from, we did a live show for 2 years, up until, what, a month ago? Which it's on hiatus. We're going to bring it back. That'll be interesting. But
it will be interesting.
On one of the last episodes, there was a fundraiser of sorts for the show where people... Actually, we didn't even ask for this to happen.
No, this was completely... Didn't expect this.
It turned into this huge ordeal where people were betting, or essentially... what's that? Bidding, that's the word. Bidding on AJ cutting his hair, AJ keeping his hair. And keeping won because you wouldn't let me pay. Because I was going to pay for you to cut it.
I was open to it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just blaming you. I just didn't do it. But
yeah, it started off with a single donation to cut my hair, and then somebody countered it, and then it just got out of hand real quick.
To this day, I still don't understand why they did that.
Me either.
Other than just like literally, hey, I want you to look, you know.
I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
You don't look bad. You can pull it off.
Yeah.
Because my hair would go like this. If you're listening on the podcast, it would be like a mushroom.
Poof?
Yeah.
My hair, for a while...
And it'd be curly.
My hair, I guess it's still
Curly-ish,
it's kind of popping out a little bit. My hair
Wavy.
just...
Feathered. You look like a 70s guy.
Nice. Starsky and Hutch.
Yep, that's it.
My mom loved that show.
The show or the movie?
The show.
Never seen it.
I thought the remake was funny with what's-his-face. Ben Stiller and...
Yeah, that was when he went... Do you remember when Ben Stiller was one of the biggest movie stars in the world for a while?
Oh, yeah.
When he was doing all those.
Zoolander.
Same with the guy that was in that with him.
Owen Wilson,
Yeah,
that's
Owen
right.
Wilson, yeah.
Doing like High Noon with Jackie Chan.
Wasn't High Noon. It was Shanghai Noon.
Yeah.
But that is a hilarious
That's
movie.
hilarious. Yeah, Shanghai Noon. Anyways, that went down a weird rabbit hole of stuff. But
It's because of what's changed, not when we're filming and how we're filming.
that's true.
Anyway.
So, yes, I'm excited to get my hair cut.
Me too, man. Keep going.
So, on a more serious note, man, I don't know. It's just very surreal. You know, we're going to be graduating, doing, we've mentioned Lionheart before.
Correct.
Graduation for that is going to be happening very soon. And what a cool thing, man, just to see, I had the opportunity to film some people asking some questions about Lionheart, and it was just super cool because they were like, man, I think you said this, but when you're in the middle of doing something like Lionheart, you don't realize the impact it's having usually.
Correct.
Until you hear people's stories and they're willing to share. Mm-hmm. And it's just what a cool celebration it's going to be. I'm very excited for it. As far as my life,
and real quick, to define so people know, serious talking, sorry everyone, about Lionheart, what that is, in case people are listening. So Lionheart at our church is, I'm trying to think of how to describe it, an intense
mission group.
Ooh, that's cool. An intense men's group for those that,
yeah.
But for guys who very tough accountability, guys who want to grow. So there's group challenges in the men and among the men, and then there's individual challenges because you might have a different one than me, but we both as men want to be, men of God a certain way.
That's right.
And it's intense, and I don't have the numbers in front of me for counting, but I think there was probably 30, 35 at the beginning, I would say. Yeah,
it's
and I think we're graduating 14, which should
that's
tell
pretty cool,
you.
Man.
But, I always say this. Even the guys that didn't make it through this time, that fought, and maybe for different reasons, I have so much admiration for them for continuing, or for doing it, for even trying. Because a lot of people didn't, and I'm looking forward to in the future. But that's what it is. And COVID really messed with it a lot. So it didn't necessarily go the way we wanted it to, but I think it was cool to see how God still used it.
Absolutely, man.
Anyway,
it was a cool. The whole process has been a testimony in itself, even through something like COVID.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of the guys could have very easily just said, "Nah, man, we're gonna stop Lionheart and try to pick it back up." But people did everything they could to keep going, whether that was through video chatting or anything. Super cool. But
Yeah, your life. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Other than that, I've been thinking about the idea that, when there comes a point in life, and I guess this is more of an open thought / question to myself and to you or anybody watching or listening. I wonder if there's going to be a point in life where it all makes sense. And you're probably wondering, what does that mean, AJ? Is there going to be a point, I guess I'll call it a turning point for lack of a better term. Is there going to be a turning point in my life where I go, man, it all clicks? And I don't mean and I guess when I say it all clicks, I'm talking about God. Because, I can say I believe in Jesus, I'm a Christian, but then on the other hand, I can go, yes, but I also still sin every day. I willingly choose not to follow him sometimes. So I go, is there ever going to be a day where everything clicks and I am just able to, I guess for lack of a better term, just follow, blindly follow Jesus, Because there's always some sort of fear. There is, there's sin. There is, I don't know, man. It's just all so messy. And I don't think, because I know I've talked about this a long time ago, kind of similar in the idea of, will there ever be a time where it's just peaceful? But I think, there's peace within everything through Jesus. But I guess my question is, does that even, is that attainable in this life, that moment? And some people might think that turning point, that moment is when you first, meet Jesus, which I think that makes sense. And I'm not saying there's a second coming of a new discovery, but it's more like...
Some people think that.
Yes. That's not me. But I guess, yeah, I'm just waiting for it to all make sense. And I don't know if it ever will.
As far as that push and pull between...
Yes.
That you still do the things you don't want to do and don't do the things you want to do, like Paul said.
Live out of fear every day. Yeah. Or you just have those moments where oh, I should do this. No, I don't do it anyway because I'm scared or anything like that. It's just so
Dude, I think you're talking about everything in the Bible. I mean,
yeah.
That's what Paul said. And I think sometimes even with you and I, it becomes cliche, but, Paul, this guy who has seen Jesus, saw Jesus, interacted with him, performed miracles, still says, I struggle sometimes to do these things. And so I think what you're describing is just that journey, man, of being more like him and less like us. But if you were to compare yourself now, even with all your faults, to pre-Jesus, you're a different person, right?
Definitely a different person. And that's why I'm wondering if it's more, and I think we've had talks similar to this, but if it's more just an acceptance of the unknown to a sense, and that's why it's faith, or if there is, if there will ever be, thank you. If there will ever be, that moment where that all fades, when it's almost like the feeling comes, I guess. Will that feeling come? It's like when we talk about joy and we say, joy starts with an action. So you do the action and the feeling of joy comes after. Is it similar to that, Or does it exist?
What's the it you're saying, will we ever feel?
Will we feel that, when it all clicks, when we finally feel is it just an acceptance of...
Of what? Of that's life?
Yes, kind of.
I think so, to a degree, man. For me, I mean...
is that why Paul was the way Paul was? Because that clicked for him and, that made sense? So, he was hey, I finally understand that this is life and this is what it's going to be. And therefore, since he was able to fully accept that, he was able to live the life he did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes me think of what he said when he said, to live as Christ, to die as gain. There's something about this. It's not a depressing thought, but the idea that this is not life. It's not eternity. And if you and I, who are Christians, believe what we say we believe, which is things are not the way they're supposed to be, that sin has tainted things and sin being our disobedience and the separation we have from God, then, when you think of verses that call us aliens in a foreign land, this feeling of not being home, and with that comes this feeling of this knowledge that we are not what we're supposed to be, but knowing that we could be, were it not for this thing inside of us that he's slowly changing.
Yeah.
That makes sense? That's how I kind of line up with this sometimes. When I'm in a and I think that does bring peace, because when I'm in a positive place, I'm able to say, man.
Yeah, it's weird how that works. I feel like it's like a teeter-totter. Because I feel like you said, like when you're in a good spot and like you're in a good place in your heart and in your mind, I feel like you look forward to that. But when you're either in the middle or you're on the bad side of the teeter-totter, it's like you think that's when the lies come in of, well, life isn't worth it because you're never going to reach that anyway because of the sin inside of you. Until this is all over. That's why it doesn't surprise me that there's people in this life who are Christians that go, I just can't wait to die.
But what do you mean by, like, I'm not there yet? Like, I'm not a rat. What do you mean?
Like being aliens to this world, right? So like
you're
wanting
not
to go
home?
home.
Yeah. That's different. I thought you meant the idea of being holy.
Oh, no,
and
no.
To me, I think that waiting to not do those things, that's the mystery of the gospel that
Absolutely.
that we're.
Yeah, the idea of going home.
Yeah, the idea of going home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I think that's probably what Paul was talking about, and that's probably why he said
weird.
that.
So I guess it makes you wonder if there is, like, even in that, like, if there's, like, when does that moment come, right? Or is it just something you got to battle? Like, even about
that
going,
acceptance
of going home, like.
I don't know, man. I think sometimes this is my thought. Sometimes I feel like I think that, or we can think that everyone is on the same, like, journey. We're on the journey to the same place, but it's going to look different. There are people who are going to be stronger in certain areas, and I think there's people that there has to be. It seems like who have that acceptance, early on. That sense of like, it doesn't matter. This isn't home, and then there's people that I don't know. They don't or they can't fully, and that's the blessing of being the body, because when we're around those people, we can get encouragement or push towards being that. But they get pushed in ways too. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah, hope that makes sense.
What I said didn't, but you did.
So that's just kind of what's been on my mind, because I don't know, man. It's just a weird thing. I think I can find myself being pushed and pulled like that sometimes.
What are you being pushed and pulled between? That's where I'm.
Feeling like that. I guess it's the unknown, right? Like the unknown of why, like you said, I guess it's the mystery. Like getting pushed and pulled back and forth between not being home versus going home. And then also, I think it kind of overlays into both. Like that idea and then also the previous one of, why do I keep doing these things even though I know I shouldn't, or whatever it is. I think it's kind of a mixture. And it's just very, I don't know, man. It's like, it's not even that I'm sad about it. It's more like I guess it's more of a frustration. It's like, why does that, I guess, affect my mind so much? Instead of instead of worrying about that, why am I not worrying about how I can love people, or love God and then love people, whatever it may be. I don't know. So, hope that made sense to you guys. I'm just kind of rambling at this point. Because that's how my brain works. It's just a ball of puke that comes out.
Okay.
And then spews. And
why do you have to describe it like that?
Is it better than the mustache? Yeah, that'll be gone soon too, if I decide to shave.
You're gonna shave completely, or just trim it up?
We'll see. Maybe I'll bring back the mustache.
Just the mustache? I mean, you can also just trim the beard.
Do the just mustache. What if I do a Fu Manchu? I have enough going all the way down. I could easily do a Fu Manchu.
I don't think it's a great idea, but I'll laugh.
Anyways, sorry. How's your week been, man?
It's been okay. I don't think I need to talk a ton about mine. I think there's two things that God is continually, Holy Spirit, working on me on, and I've not been able to let go of. One is the idea that everywhere around me, people are hiding because they're afraid. And I talked about this weeks ago. This idea that people are so scared, all of us, right, to show our flaws, to show our weaknesses, or to show our sin. And when I look at the Bible, I see things don't seem, something's wrong. And I think because the way that the Bible describes our relationship with each other even is a relationship that's open and honest, and where we share things, and when we mess up, we're even feeling, and I'm guilty of this, right? I mean, there's something about it that makes us, we're afraid of being shamed, we're afraid people won't want to love us anymore, we're afraid people will shun us, we're afraid people, and then I started thinking, because I get the opportunity to talk to a lot of people.
Right.
It doesn't matter their situation. Some have big issues and some have small, but the bottom line is that they all have them, but everybody hides in different ways. So that makes me sad. And I want to be, and I'm guilty of it. And so with that is, I want to make sure, and one of the reasons that, try not to ramble, one of the reasons that I think this is a big deal is we have to change that. We have to change that so that the church can really, that Christians can truly share struggles and mistakes, not to glorify sin, but to overcome sin and to overcome addictions and to overcome all these things that they're afraid of. Right. Well, the only way that we can do that, according to the Bible, and this goes back to this weird culture we've created, and says, which is we confess the safe things but hide the bad things, right? Now, weird. That becomes subjective. Because to one person, it may not be drugs or alcohol or sexual sin. It might be they've been, I don't know, doing something shady at work. Yeah, it could be anything. Or their marriage. A lot of times, bad. The marriage is bad on the outside. It looks good on the inside. It looks terrible. And they don't. And what happens in the darkness of that, in the hiding, is that these sins, these failings, these problems begin to fester and grow and isolate us even more from other people and from God. God never leaves us, but sin causes the volume to rise, and it causes us to be hemmed in. And I'm guilty of this. So I've looked at times in my life, that it's that lie that no one will love me after this, whatever this is. That's right. And so how do I want to help with that culture? Two things. One is I want to start being a guy that will do that. And it takes a lot, right? Even the little things. It means being willing to seek to put to death the things that I shouldn't be doing, but also to seek to be transparent and honest in all those things, and to trust those around me that love me. That's right. The other thing, though, I think is almost even more important, is in order to create that kind of culture, I have to be someone, and I said this to you the other day, I think when I was talking to you about this, is I have to be someone who doesn't demand grace and not give grace. Everybody wants grace for themselves, but they don't want to offer grace to others. And I've had to look in the mirror and ask myself, do I create an environment in which someone feels safe to tell me that they've made mistakes? And I don't think I have. I think sometimes I have. If there are things that don't directly involve me sometimes, it's easy for me to not judge. And that's where I judge it. I think because of things I've done in my own life, I understand how people can fall into things, right? But that culture, so I think I do a decent job of that with other people by the grace of God and through my own mistakes. But those close to me, those who hurt me themselves through their own sin, right, or their mistakes or whatever, do I create an environment in which they feel safe to share that because they know that they're not going to be met with anger and rage and shaming behavior, but they're going to be met with grace and love and mercy and a desire to overcome it, right? That I see them through that stuff. Yeah. And so, does that make sense?
No, I think it does. And I just to encourage you real quick, I think you do a great job with that, with me being closer to you. Because I know I've shared some crazy stuff with you. Yeah. And you never met me with anger.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm still growing, and I think about times that I have. Mm-hmm. And it's not, I think you're right. It's primarily with people in relationships, that I've been in. And because the closer you are, every level, right, the harder it becomes to offer that kind of Grace. And I think what's crazy is that that affects the whole culture of the church, particularly.
It makes you not want to be close to anybody.
Bingo. So, it certainly makes you say, well, why would I ever confess stuff? Because you're not doing what the Bible, the Bible says, confess your sins to one another, pray for each other, for the prayers of the righteous are powerful. So it's essentially that there's something about that process. I don't think it's magic. I think it has to do, one, with the humility of sharing it, and two, with the healing that comes from somebody looking at someone and saying, hey, that's not who you are. You're still Jesus. He still loves you, all those types of things. So that's where I've been at. And then the other one, I said I'm going to keep it short, and I didn't. The other one is just the idea of radical, of loving people in a tangible way. I talked about this a few weeks ago in the message, Homeless Jesus, looking for ways to tangibly love people. Jesus separated the goats and the sheep. We talked about this last week. And that's still going on, man, of me looking for, it's been so cool. Like, that the Spirit ever since that moment, and I've prayed for it, is that I'm noticing the little things I can do for people. So whether it's taking out a trash bag that I see for someone, or giving someone a ride, or letting someone take my car, or asking them if they want to drink, that I used to. I'm not saying I never did those things, but even more. Or like money. I want to be someone that's generous with it because it isn't mine anyway. And I want to be more and more generous with it because I really don't care. And I think, sometimes I know I love people, but the funny thing is, and I forget this, is like I can say I love you, right? But you're only going to really know I love you through my actions.
That's true.
Right? You are. I might know it and it might be true, but you can only know it by the things that I say and do for you. By
what you put out, really. Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. So.
No, 100% makes sense.
So that's kind of where I've been as of late, and I don't know, man. A lot of stuff. This world is scary, and it's in some ways, for a lot of reasons. And I've been coming back to the verse 2 that says, "Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time you will reap a reward." Right? Do not grow weary in doing good, and that's such a beautiful thing that God knows us enough to remind us, hey, I know you're going to get tired sometime of doing good. Don't grow weary in doing good because I'm going to come through. Because he does. He comes through. Awesome. He does not lie. God does not lie, guys. I know it feels that way sometimes, but he doesn't.
It's so weird that you brought up that verse talking about not being weary, because I was actually going to ask you when you're bringing up, like, now I've seen all these tangible ways to love people. Like, does that ever feel overwhelming now that you see it?
Thank you for saying that, because I was going to bring it up and I forgot. No, man, that's the weird equation I've noticed, is the more I do it, the more I want to do it, and the easier it is, and it doesn't make me tired at all. It makes me, it's, I don't know. Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's so cool, because it reminds me of times where I have taken leaps of faith in my own life too.
I've seen it. You do it a lot.
And when you do it, oh, that wasn't that bad.
And then crazy things happen too.
Yep.
Good things, yeah.
So that's really cool, man.
So that's where I'm at. But I agree with you, man. I do resonate a little bit with what you said. A little different, but man, my faith when I look at it,
I was having a conversation with somebody, was it yesterday or the day before? It was one of those, but and I said, yeah, man, it said time goes quick, and they go, oh yeah, it's crazy. I said, yeah, man, like every day I'm pretty sure I have a small existential crisis.
Yeah, I get it.
It's like I'm 25 and I was 18 yesterday.
Crazy, man. I remember having that when I was 25 last year.
That's right.
All right. So, you dive into some questions here?
Let's get it.
Well, let's take a gander.
We're gandering.
I'm going to... So the first question says, can you explain Mark chapter 4, verses 24 and 25? This has always puzzled me because typically Jesus says the last will become first, but here it says whoever has more will be given, and whoever has little, even that will be taken away.
Okay.
Let's take a gander. We have not looked at this ahead of time.
Nope.
So this is literally this moment. And I'll be honest with you, now that I'm doing it, I'm like, that might have been silly and foolish. But let's look at it. I know the section he's referencing, but I do want to. So the verses he's talking about specifically in chapter 4, verses 24 and 25 say, then he said to them, pay attention to what you hear. By the measure you use, it will be measured and added to you. To the one who has, it will be given, and from the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away.
Is there any context in this?
That's a good feller. So the context here, and then again, we're just opening this. So I'm seeing already immediately chapter 4. It's the parable of the sower in which Jesus talks about the idea of what it's a parable about seed falling on different types of soil, which is the message of the gospel and what happens. And he talks about in verse 8, he says, so some of it falls on thorny ground, it gets choked out, some falls on bad, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't produce a crop, meaning the faith doesn't really develop and show itself. It doesn't take root. And then he says at the end of this parable, he says, still others fell on good soil and produced a crop that increased 30, 60, and 100 times what was sown. So then he explains that parable. It's one of the times that we actually get a direct explanation. He says, do you understand this parable? How then will you understand any of the parables? The sower sows the word. These are the ones along the path where the word is sown. When they hear, immediately Satan comes and takes away. Those are the ones sown on rocky ground. When they hear the word, immediately they receive it with joy, but they have no root in themselves. They are short-lived, and when affliction or persecution comes because of the word, they immediately stumble. Others are sown among thorns. These are the ones who hear the word, but the worries of this age, the seduction of wealth, and the desires for other things enter in and choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. Interesting. It says they hear the word, and it says they become unfruitful. It doesn't say they necessarily, the other one says short-lived or anything. We'll come back to that later. But the ones sown on good ground are those who hear the word, welcome it, and produce a crop 30, 60, and 100 times. Then he goes on to say, using your light, he said to them, is a lamp brought in to be put under a basket or under a bed? Isn't it to be put on a lampstand? For nothing is concealed except to be revealed, and nothing hidden except to come to light. If anyone has ears to hear, he should listen. Then he said to them, pay attention to what you hear. By the measure you use, it will be measured and added to you. For to the one who has, it will be given, and from the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. What are your thoughts on that?
So, given the context, it sounds like if you're willing to listen, you will understand, and it's best to. Oh man,
no, it's
like applying what you're hearing. That's kind of how I take it. I can't think of a good way to word that. And he's saying, the ones who, it was a measure, and he did not. By the measure you use, it will be measured and added to you. So, for the one who has will be given, and from the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. Saying, like, if you hear my word and you don't respond to it, like it's gonna be taken away. Like,
yeah, I think you're right on. I think there's also the context of in other gospels. In other gospels, it kind of goes on a little more. I think you hit the nail on the head in the context. It's the idea, when you come to take in with an open heart, and are taking all that in, what God says, it's going to grow exponentially. And part of that is in the gospel is the idea that if you come in thinking you know everything, you don't know anything, right? If you come in thinking you know everything, you're not going to accept the gospel either.
That's right.
And for the one who has will be given, for the one who does not, even what he has will be taken away.
And I love the second part of that. It says even if he has, because it's like what you said. Like even if you hear the good news and you don't run with it, like it's gonna be taken away. Like you're not using it. It's very interesting. It makes me feel like it's almost like he's splitting up. Like it's like here's the real believers, and then it's kind of like what he does with the seeds, right? Like these are the ones that are gonna view great, and these are the ones that are gonna look like they're Christians, but they're really not. Or if they knew the truth, they just didn't act on it. So I don't know. I feel like it's almost like a continuation of what he already said, kind of.
Yeah, he's just going on in it more. Yeah,
it's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, and whenever I hear this, if I'm honest, as I'm thinking it through, it always actually makes me, and I'm glad it's interesting you brought up because I thought I knew exactly what section this was, but they're talking about. Because there's another section where Jesus says, "The way you judge others, you will be judged. The measure that you, don't use, whatever." And it feels that way, but it's not. It's slightly different. So I think that's pretty intriguing. I need to ponder that for a minute.
Yeah.
On how to explain it better.
Great question.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll come back to the other one and come back to that. Let me ponder. So I think this one I'm going to have to answer. I did read this article briefly.
Okay.
So it's thoughts on the question is what are our thoughts on John Piper's article, Policies, Persons, and Paths to Ruin?
Okay.
I read this article by John Piper. I have a lot of admiration for him. A longtime pastor. A lot of people would know him, theologian. He essentially in this, he talks about the election, and he's like, I'm going to tell you guys who I'm going to vote for. And I read the whole thing. I'm going to paraphrase it real super simply.
Okay.
But essentially he says, quit trying to compare, this is what he says, quit comparing the sin of abortion, which would be one side of allowing that, and saying that is not as serious as the sin of arrogance and the sin of moral corruption that he believes that the other candidate says. So he kind of, at the end of it, says, who am I going to vote for? He's essentially saying, I'm voting for neither candidate. I'm voting for neither Donald Trump nor Biden because that's not my choice as a Christian. I'm not limited to choose between these two earthly choices. I don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. And he's essentially, in his mind, he's saying, if I have to choose between worse or worst, I'm not doing it, worse or worse. And that's it. He's not going to vote for either. Yeah. So.
Interesting.
So what are your thoughts on that? I guess just that concept.
It makes me, the first thing that kind of popped in my head is what if we apply that to everything? What would turn out, I feel like there's a difference between grasping reality of a situation and then also adding to the fire by not wanting to accept that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe John Piper's points are, okay, maybe they make sense, but like I guess a question I would have for him is what is good in your decision? What is good in it?
I think his argument would probably be, I'm not choosing evil or evil. Because he and I'm doing air quotes here just because that's his thoughts on it, right?
Right.
You can go read the article if you type that in.
Very interesting. Yes. Yeah. I don't necessarily think it's a bad decision. It's just more like more confused by it.
I actually kind of agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think the problem is you're looking at one thing. You're assuming, to me, my thoughts on it. So he's kind of, I know I don't want to speak for him completely because I do think his point is bigger than abortion versus arrogance, okay?
Sure.
But he does use those two. He kind of uses one candidate to stand for this, the other's arrogant. I think that you have to look at, I do think I'm one of those guys that does think that choosing, let's even say it were true, the lesser of two evils is the more noble thing to do.
I agree.
And although, again, that's not my own personal thoughts on it. We live in a world where ideally, sure, I would love that there would be a candidate for president that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt was a mature, strong man of God, leading our country in that way. And we can pray for that. But in the meantime, when faced with two candidates, or in general, this is for any general election, if one feels, for instance, hostile to the faith and the other doesn't, if one, I don't know. I think you have to look at a bigger picture. And to me, that's responsibility and leadership. It's, even stuff as big as economic decisions.
Okay.
The way that we run our economy, the way that we do those things. I don't think there's unfortunately in our system, there's no perfect political candidate. Because the party is so bipartisan, right? Or the government is so bipartisan. There's two parties who even the candidates that stand for them have to kind of toe the line in these certain areas in order to be in that party.
Yeah. Yep.
So I respect his decision like I would anyone. I think I understand what he's saying. I think the article, go check it out. I think the article is well written. I think that he makes his points very valid, and I will also say he says I don't expect anyone to follow me. I'm not going to try to make anyone follow me, even if I could. my friends, my colleagues, even my wife, they need to do what they feel called to do. But for me, this is what I feel called to do.
Yeah.
And I think he's got valid points. I'm not going to do that because in my mind, I do think I think that right or wrong, with the limited knowledge I have, I'm going to choose the candidate that I feel best represents kingdom values, even if neither of them perfectly represent kingdom values.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
No, 100% makes sense. Yeah.
And maybe I shouldn't even say that. Maybe that's even wrong to say because there's parts of it that you could, but that's how I feel about it.
Well, and I guess, what I said earlier, one of my initial things I said was, what if we like applied that to everything in life? What if we said, well, we have a drug addict that comes to our church, and we also have an alcoholic. Those are both evil, so I'm actually going to go with this guy over here instead.
As far as what, letting him in?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's similar, obviously different scale, but that's kind of what I related it to initially in my head was, trying to pick the lesser of two evils instead of just sticking with the one that you believe in. Finding the, I guess to me it goes deeper than that. Maybe that's what you're trying to say too, but I don't know. To me, it felt like it goes deeper than that.
Yeah.
Than just looking at those two things and then going, nah, neither.
Yeah. So you guys can go check that out. I'm going to try to pull it up again so that people can go read the article if they want.
We can always link it if you want.
Policies, Persons, and Paths to Ruin. Now they can look it up. Policies, Persons, and Paths to Ruin by John Piper. If you just type in John Piper, Policies, Persons, Path to Ruin, it pulls right up.
Cool.
So, yeah, I've been pondering as I was looking and making some notes because I remembered something about the idea of going back to Mark 24.
Yeah.
Measure. By the measure you use is like I looked this up again because I remember, I couldn't remember exactly, but it's a comparison to a standard, right?
Okay.
He's essentially, because remember he was talking to, it's the idea that if you are measuring this, those that follow God will understand what I'm saying. They will have a deeper understanding, right? More will be given. Mm-hmm. Or for the one who has, it will be given. For one who does not have, even when he has, will be taken away. What little understanding he has will be taken away, right? If he's not, it won't make sense. That's my view of it, kind of. But I think that all goes back with what we talked about.
Yeah.
So, by the way, person who asked this great question, there are scholars, theologians debate this all the time. I think overall what you and I talked about is the idea that's in this parable of the sower and the parable of like taking Jesus' words and hearing it and doing something with it is what really matters.
Absolutely.
So, great question. I like that we had to really think through that too and look some stuff up. Yeah.
He's got my brain trying to think.
Me too. You have any other thoughts, buddy? Hear my voice slowly fading from allergies.
Hey, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a fun time. This is Bob Ross. Okay. Who am I? Seriously though, if you guys like this, make sure you like, share, comment on it, please. If you're listening on the podcast, hey, we're being listened to in like 6 different countries now. How cool is that? Hey, if you guys want to give it a share, go ahead and go for it. Share with your friends. Get your friends listen to the podcast as well. Love you guys.
So, we started filming this about 1 in the morning.
It's true.
So, if you guys, that was the secret. If we seem off, that's why we did that. Why? We had a lot to do the next day. So, we hope you enjoyed our exhausted rambling. But hey, great questions. If you guys have any other questions, you know the deal. Use the link he mentioned, www.theremnant.live/real-talk. Give us topics. I love that someone said, what are your thoughts on an article? I love the great question of Mark. Hey, anything. You drop it in there, feedback. We see it. It's completely anonymous. Couldn't find you if we tried. And if you feel led, and this has blessed you in any way, I know you got a lot. People are giving a lot of places, but consider donating to keep this sucker going. At www.theremnant.life/give. Use the drop-down box and go down to Real Talk.
That's right.
I think that's about it. Short episode comparatively the last few weeks. But other than that, maybe it isn't. I don't know.
We'll see.
I'm probably asleep.
I've lost all track of time.
Yeah. Hey, we hope you guys have a great night, day. See, I don't even know where we're at. Hope you guys have a great day. We truly, it's one of those days, man.
Yeah.
Hey, we really do hope you guys have a great day, and God bless you.